This is your daily briefing and you are most welcome to it. Here we are the day after a second win against Nuno Espírito Santo's old side. Spurs managed to squeeze their way past Wolves at Molineux again. And I have to say this was more about Wolves players missing the penalty kicks than it was either about Galini or about how well Tottenham played. I don't have the numbers through yet in terms of the match stats, the detailed drill down bits and pieces. But to be honest with you, it's one of those tasks which I will go through. I will have a look and see if anything amazing turns up. But do you know, I watched the game and I've looked around online this morning and there were people going, "Oh yeah, he had a great game, and it wasn't a great game for anybody. Where are they? 16th in the table, and we threw away a 2-0 lead. So is this could possibly be, and I haven't heard many voices saying this today, this could actually possibly be the first game where we've actually had a good half. Does that make any sense? Because we went ahead, we scored 2 goals. We threw it away in the second. And I've done a couple of pieces. I put the Tanguy video up, his goal, which was extraordinary. Real battle of wills and physicality and raw talent. Absolutely superb. But there was a problem with Nuno and press conferences. And I noticed that, and it's no mistake that I put up Ollie at the wheel at Man United's post-match presser as well. And in my view, managers have got to stop this hiding business and start answering questions. Why? Well, I can tell you very straightforwardly. Football has to feed us, and that's a comment I came up with during the COVID fiasco that kept everybody out of the stadiums. And we need to have coaches up their game in terms of their interactions with the press. And this is just a little small thing I want to throw in here because nobody does this. Nobody has these sort of type of conversations I try to have with you. And in respect to the press thing, I've seen a couple of comments already on here, on this channel, where people say, well, what do you want him to say? You know, you want him to throw so-and-so under the bus? Well, the reality is certain events happened. And what's legit? What can we ask questions on? Hey Nuno, your beard looks great this morning. How are things? Nice breakfast? No, waste of time. And the process, let's just run through that as well, because I don't think that the entirety of the blame is on the people in the room, but I think that the setting itself doesn't lend itself, because there's always the possibility you could get thrown out or blacklisted or vetoed, whatever the language might be. That's certainly happened before. But is it beyond the wit of coaches to, instead of saying, I don't want to talk about individual performances, and that tells us that they're dealing with weak-willed, thin-skinned nitwits as players. Oh, Gaffer, I'm not very happy. I don't think I'm going to be able to play very well in the next half-dozen games after what you said about me after the Wolves game. I mean, I didn't mean to screw up 3 times. There's no need to throw anybody under the bus, but perhaps they could change their language, just modify how they talk, opposed to clamming up. Because this business, I mean, Alasdair got snapped at here, asked about Tanguy because he was involved in 2 of the Wolves' goals. First foul up he made, he lost his man and they had a header on goal. Second cross, he lost his man again and they scored. And the third goal, the second goal, so he lost his man on a corner and there was a header on goal. Then he lost his man a second time and got involved in some sort of weird trying to backheel in mid-air type fairy kick, and that went in. And in the second goal, he was also involved in that because he was exhausted and fell over. It wasn't properly fouled, but he fell over and he was involved in that. Now, it's absolutely unreasonable to say to Alasdair, no, Alasdair, let's try to avoid as much as we can individual analysis. Perhaps, and maybe I'm splitting hairs, dancing on a pin here, but perhaps he could say, well, Alasdair, I'm sure he didn't mean to give Wolves the advantage on 3 occasions. But this business, defend him there and then. If you are so inclined to defend a player, if the player is as useless, as fundamentally hopeless, that if you say anything less than sprinkling praise on them, that they're going to curl up in the fetal position and not be in the right place mentally for the next game or three, then that's the club that have got a problem, and especially the coach that's got a problem. So I appreciate there's a lot of money involved, and you can't be having players that are, but Nuno needs to understand that we're not stupid, and that the fact that we have a 24-year-old who, I won't say played up, but it was brought to the press's attention in both cases of his previous clubs that he couldn't maintain consistency and concentration levels and fitness levels. This was all in the public domain. And he comes to Spurs and he's still not ready to play a full 90 minutes. Now, he played 90 minutes, but he was absolutely whacked out in the second half. So talk about the fact that you're training, improving energy levels, with everybody in the team, concentrating, blah, blah, blah. But don't tell us no comment, because the way that room is set up, now I can't speak for everybody, but as far as the printed press is concerned, it's like crawling over broken glass to get in that room. Now, that doesn't mean to say it's complicated, but because I've been approached, I've had discussions with people about this past. It's not for me. It's not for me. So you've got to produce a body of work beyond going to a technical college, and I don't mean you need to go to Eton or Rodine or Sandhurst. You need to go to a technical college to pick up your journalism degree, which, I'll be honest with you, I've known many lads who've done it. It's not complicated. You then have to produce a body of work which is absolutely soul-destroying, and it's producing full match reports on Premier League games, or whatever the level you're at, but on full games, and you're looking somewhere in the region of about 45,000 words. And I have to tell you, hand on heart, they're the pieces that nobody reads anymore. They're the pieces that when I was a kid living overseas, and you get the newspaper, yesterday's newspaper, the following day, that your dad might read, because there was no TV, the games weren't live, there was no internet. So they were the games that gave you the entire summary, the entire breakdown. So, you know what, like we get today, those live chat feeds, which are awful, because somebody's telling you the ball's gone out, or there's been a red card, or whatever there might have been. But they're the equivalent of those. They're dreadful long-form articles, and you have to look for them, because whilst the newspapers have them, they don't clog their front pages with them, because they don't get any traffic, they don't get any clicks. But once you've completed this body of work, and then if you are benign enough, which appears to be an ongoing situation in terms of personality, whatever, then you get into the room and you get to ask your questions. So there is a little bit of dancing to be done. And it's not, as I say, it's not something for me personally. If I wanted to do it, I could have sat down and done it years ago. But I have a mind which doesn't appreciate being given pointless tasks to undertake. But those guys have gone through a lot to get there. And it may be different in certain broadcast journalism now. That might be very different indeed. In fact, I'd guarantee you it probably is. But there are a number of things. There are a number of issues where specific individuals were involved. And the clubs, the coaches ought to be able to speak freely about them without throwing them under the bus. So, like I said, with Tanguy said, well, I'm sure he didn't intend to give Wolves the advantage on 3 occasions. And always feel with Tanguy, the good outweighs anything that's got a question mark over it. Learn to speak, and I don't even care if you speak in your mother tongue. But don't sit there and tell me, oh, no, we're not discussing specific individuals. It's just not on. You've got to feed us. That's called doing your job, by the way. This is part of your job. It's what you sign up for. We had Romero's bad pass out of the back line that set up the first Wolves goal, incidentally. That was a howler. Galini, not a brilliant goalkeeper, came out of that game, pipped out of it, squeaked ahead, but he conceded another 2 goals. So I'm going to go through the numbers, see if there's anything earth-shattering I can find there. If there's any nice videos or clips, I'll get them on theboyhotspur.com or put them up on YouTube if YouTube's happy enough to see them. And one point that Nuno did make, which I thought was interesting and actually had some value to it, was that he was wanting to get all the players, and this is the phrase that I like to use, getting all the horses in a row, because he doesn't believe, and he's true, that because of all the shenanigans that's gone on in the terms of the international break and players coming back from the interlull, the what's his name, at the beginning of the season, after the supposedly closed season, he didn't have any time. So he's got players at different levels in terms of progression. So all his horses at the moment are not in a row. But we're how many games in? But that's a problem for the club. Fourth round draw in full. Chelsea play Southampton. Arsenal face Leeds. Stoke play Brentford. West Ham have Man City at home. Leicester inviting Brighton. And we're away at Burnley. QPR have Sunderland and Preston have Liverpool. Couple of comedy items for you to finish on. Anthony Marshall has been reportedly put up for sale, Manchester United, and it's Eurosport again. Sorry, I shouldn't have even shared this with you. 40 million, and he's on £250,000 a week, and he's been linked with Tottenham. I'm sorry, I didn't look at it properly. Maybe I should have gone to a technical college, eh? And last of all, Jack Wilshere is bawling his eyes out for the Daily Mail, and he's laid bare his frustration at lazy clubs and managers who consider him to be an injury waiting to happen as he searches for another last chance in football. The former England and former Arsenal midfielder, 29. You may as well say former kindergarten attendee. It's so long ago. Is currently without a club after being released by Bournemouth the end of last season, and Wilshere has been training with Italian Serie B club Como, and I saw a clip of that on TV, and that football club, it's like their training pitch appears to have like a bus shelter and a bag of balls. That's where he is, and that's because his mate Dennis Wise, that's right, works there as the CEO, but cannot play for them for rules around the non-EU player ratio. So that's where we are. We're through into the next round. That's fascinating. But the problem we have, which Nuno kind of touched on with that comment about, all the players being at the same level, is he's having to play his best 11 just to survive against 16th placed Wolves. So we've got Arsenal, and that'll be a massive game. Massive game. It'll get blown up by the media, don't get me wrong, but by the same token, we should be competing, i.e. beating, a side of their dimensions when you look at the league table. But will we? Good luck. Keep it Tottenham.